Hi, it's Max from Android.com, where we get Android every day. Anyway, after doing the low light camera test last night, I kept wondering what made the Nexus 6P so much better than all other phones like the Galaxy S7 Edge in low light. So I kept thinking to myself, is it the sensor size? Is it the software? Does the camera have higher dynamic range? I wasn't sure. I really wanted to find out what made the Nexus 6P better than all these other flagships. Let's go ahead and find out why the Nexus 6P takes better photos than the Galaxy S7 Edge. Let's go do this, baby. Alright, got me thinking the best way to test this is to take a photo where there's a lot of darkness and light. So I took a bunch of shots. Let's go and take a look on my computer. Alright guys, so here is my computer. I took a bunch of shots. Now I did also take them in RAW. This is the 6P, this is the S7 Edge. Let me go ahead and show you the S7 Edge, right? So this is the JPEG photo straight from my phone. You can see on the right side, there's a lot of darkness, and also on the left side, there's a lot of light. This is a great way to test how well your camera can capture the lights and the darkness. All right, so let me go ahead and show you the 6P here. I use the Google camera, which is a default camera. This is the 6P S7 Edge. And you can clearly see here, you can see a lot of the details in the darkness and also in the cloud back here. Now this is the #1 reason why when I took those shots last night, the 6P fared a lot better, captured more of the details. Basically, it has higher dynamic range. Galaxy S7 Edge, Nexus 6P. Wow, look at the differences. All right, so I did take them in both RAW. So let's go ahead and open up the 6P here. This is a RAW file. For those of you who don't know, this is actually the RAW output where you can go ahead and adjust the shadows and highlights. Now today we're not going to do a full tutorial on how to work with RAW files, but we're simply going to mess with shadows and highlights, which is pretty much what we need to get the details back out. All right, this is the RAW file. You can still see that the 6P gets a lot of the details in this RAW file. But I'm going to go ahead and bring up the shadows as much as I can without getting too much noise. Now at 100%, you'll see that there's a lot of noise. So I'm gonna bring this down to maybe 47. There's still some noise there. I'm gonna bring it down to about 35, maybe about 31. You'll see that I bring up as much as possible in the shadows without bringing noise. All right, same thing with the shadows up here. To get some of the details back of the clouds, all I'm gonna do is bring down the highlights. I'm gonna actually bring it down to all the way to 100. All right, you'll see it looks a lot better. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open this image. So with the RAW file, this is what I get. Let's compare this to the JPEG output. And you will see that JPEG output actually has more details in the skies, interestingly, right? Now I didn't bring up the saturation, but you can see with the RAW file, we can even bring out even more detail in the shadows here. So let's do the same thing with the S7 Edge. Let's see if we can get this crappy photo into something like the 6P. So this is the #1 reason why you would use RAW files. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna bring up the shadows as much as possible. At 100, that's way too much. I'm gonna bring it down to 50. Still a little noise. I think about 30, that would be the best. And actually go ahead and bring down the highlights all the way. And maybe a little too much. I'm gonna do maybe about -80. That looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this. And now you will see, compare this to the JPEG. Completely unusable, you cannot see anything in the shadows. The skies are blown out. Compare that to the RAW image here that I've adjusted the highlights and shadows. A lot better. So this is the #1 reason why you wanna use RAW files. All right, let me go ahead and compare this to the Nexus 6P. All right, S7 Edge, Nexus 6P. Both are actually not bad. The Nexus 6P seems to pick up a little bit more details in the shadows, but both are not bad actually. All right, with the RAW files, you can see that they both can achieve about the same. Now, what got me wondering was the HDR mode on the Nexus 6P turning on, which is why its photos are better. So I took some more photos with HDR on and off. Okay, I went back outside. Here's 6P with HDR on. All right, and here is also S7 Edge with HDR on. Now, if you compare both, you can still see that the 6P has more details in the skies. Now the S7 Edge starts picking up more details in the shadows there. Now, what gets interesting is that with HDR mode off, this is with no HDR on the Nexus 6P. This is S7 Edge with no HDR on. And comparing the both, wow, I was really amazed that the Nexus 6P just simply kicks ass with no HDR. With HDR, it really processes the highlights and the shadows a lot better than the S7 Edge. All right, so this is really where the camera shines. Look at the details of the 6P in the grass. All right, this is 6P, this is S7 Edge. Look at the grass, how it over sharpens. The 6P looks very natural. You get a lot of detail. Looking at the shadows, pretty much you lose all of the shadows. With the S7 Edge 6P, you get a lot of the shadows back. So this is the #1 reason why the 6P performed better in low light. The way it processes lights and darks, it's so much on another level than the S7 Edge or any of the other flagships, which really means that not only the 6P does well in low light, it's gonna allow you to take these excellent photos where there's a lot of light and dark, capture the details with a higher dynamic range. You guys know a little bit about cameras. You know how dynamic range is very important. The 6P software, I mean, insanely better. I mean, take a look at this. This is the 6P, this is the S7. 6P, S7 Edge. Look at how much detail is lost. Look at how much detail it keeps. The colors, the details. S7 Edge sort of over sharpens, losing detail. I'm amazed. I'm really amazed. All right, as proven in this video, sensor size, aperture, sometimes had something to do with great photos, but in the end, what ultimately made the Nexus 6P better was the Google camera software, or whatever software in there that processes the raw photos into JPEG. So very interesting indeed. And of course, if you want to take the full advantage of your smartphone camera, it is always best to use the RAW mode. Take both JPEG and RAW photos. That way you can always fix things later down the road. I should have a video on that for noobs out there if you guys want it. Do let me know if you guys want such a video. Nexus 6P just kills it with its camera software. And as always, stay on Android.
Hi, click here to subscribe. Click here to subscribe.